Hey everybody, it's another edition of Unbreakable. And I'm Greg, your host with the most. And it is Thursday, I do believe, May the 30th. Almost done yet already, huh? Jeez. And listen, it's beautiful in Pennsylvania. It's sunny, about 74, cool breeze, blue sky. It's just beautiful. Wish you were here. If you're not ready. There's our Coco. Coco with an A. Hello, Coco. You just stopped living up top. And here's our other friend, the patron saint of this podcast. And you know that, well aware of this people. Good, good. Look at that. Good, good. Get your tongue there. Ah. We just a minute ago. All right. So before we talk classic TV show of the week, Uh, Phillies. Hey, how about those Phillies, huh? I told you yesterday, I thought the Phillies were going to take that last game in San Francisco, break that nine-game losing skid out there. And it did. The reason I thought they would is because this is a different Phillies team this year. This is a focused Phillies team. Phillies teams in the past would have just said, you know what, we're going home. Let's get on the plane. Who cares if we lose, if it's swept? We're going home and we're the hell. But this is a different team, isn't it, Coco? Really good. And they're very focused. And so they're back up 6 games over Atlanta Braves. So there you go. Now I checked the odds today. The Phillies are now favored to win the National League East, and they are the third favorite to win the World Championship. Behind the Yankees, of course, they're all teams. The Dodgers, but I don't think it's going to be like the Dodgers will see it. Close to you, I think we'll play Baltimore games. That's what I said before the season began. And that's what's going to come true. Yeah, it is different then. So, Phillies. Start a homestand tomorrow night at St. Louis. I'll be there Saturday night. Ranger Suarez goes to 10-0 Saturday night with Sunny Bad. Saturday night. So that's a really big deal. And meanwhile, we look up in New York, the truck trial. And so it's like the you expect the trial. The lady, and so he gives up. And hopefully the child will be doing guilty. Anyway, so we wait. Hopefully it's not too much longer. We won't. So, a team had this class, yes, TV classic of the week. Yeah, I'm going to send this theme song. I usually, I don't know why I put my glasses on for the big song, because I don't do the glasses on for the big song. I just start to go to home. Now, here you go. So, here it is. Here's the theme song, and you'll know what it is. No words. Yeah. Coco likes it. Yes, it's Hawaii Five-0. Hawaii Five-0 is our classic TV show of the week. That's what we're going to talk about for the next couple of minutes. Now, it's not the new Hawaii Five-0, the one that started in 2010, which was very popular. No, we're going back to the original, the one that started in 1968. That's right. And we're going to talk about that now. Now, Hawaii Five-0 was on CBS, and it was spelled Hawaii, spelled out five with the O, not 5-0. as in numeral 050. And the reason they called it that was because Hawaii was the 50th state. And back in 1968, think about it, Hawaii was a relatively new state. It had only been a state for less than a decade. So Hawaii was still thought of this exotic tropical place. And that really benefited the show because about 2/3 of the show was filmed outdoors. Um, the landscapes, even the beginning of the show with all these hula dancers and the palm trees and the ocean and the waves and the volcano, everything, Hawaii, like very glamorous, very, because people really weren't, other than knowing Don Ho and people like that, tiny bubble in people weren't that familiar with Hawaii like they are now. So that really benefited the show because it was one of the shows that very a lot of ethnic, the Hawaiians. They used a lot of Hawaiians in the cast, and and so it had a following all over the world. And then after the show ended in 1980, it ran in syndication reruns, and it continued to have a big following. And like I said, it spawned the new Hawaii Five-0 and so forth. So anyway, 12 seasons, 281 episodes. In fact, it was the longest running up then. It was the longest running police drama at the time until Law and Order took over that record. In fact, it was the last scripted show that started in the 60s and then ended in the 80s. So you had some other shows that started in the 60s, ended in the mid 70s. Hawaii Five-0 was the last show that started in the 60s, and that was the last. So the theme was the iconic theme, which I just sang brilliantly. Was written by a guy named Morton Stevens. He did it. Now you know the premise of the show, right? Jack Lord played Steve McGarrett. And Steve McGarrett, I don't know if you noticed or not, he was in the Navy. He was a big shot in the Navy, like a commander. Well, they needed to, for some reason, he got involved with the state police of Hawaii, and he became like their boss. There was problems there or something, so he came in to oversee it, ran the show. So Steve McGarrett was the boss. It wasn't the Honolulu police. That was a different thing. No. The outfit that Steve McGarrett ran was the state police of Hawaii. So Jack Lord, of course, we're going to talk about him, played Steve McGarrett. And he was in the Navy. And his tagline, his catchphrase, which still lives till today, is "Book 'em, Dano." So a lot of times, at the end of the show, you would have McGarrett is chasing down a lot of bootleggers, a lot of syndicate crime in Hawaii, and a lot of gangsters, that sort of thing. So, so at the end, after spending the whole hour chasing these bad guys, they would finally get caught, and Steve McGarrett would say to Dano, his assistant there, "Book 'em, Dano, murder one." And a lot of times Steve McGarrett would say what to book him after it. So either just plain "Book 'em, Dano" or "Book 'em, Dano, accessory to murder." "Book 'em, Dano," forgery. You just never do. And there were other characters on the show too. Chin Ho and Kono. Those were the other guys in the state police force there. So see if I got it. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. James MacArthur was the guy who played Dano, and he was sort of like. By the way, he was the son of Helen Hayes. I don't know how many people knew Helen Hayes, the old actress there. He was the son of Helen Hayes, who actually appeared on the show once. And MacArthur was a popular figure on the show. And a few of the episodes centered around MacArthur. Now, here's the thing. Most of the episodes of Y50 just stuck with the basic crime, cop, bad guy, villain, blah, blah, blah. Very, very, very rarely would they get into like the cops' personal lives. Occasionally they did, and sometimes they did a show about the Dano and maybe a family problem he was having or something. And but basically they stayed away from any personal stuff like that, Although I tell you one thing though, we learned a little bit about Steve Garrett, Jack Lewis, in one of the episodes when he got a hold of this criminal and he put him up against the wall and he gave him a beat down, and he blurted out, "You're the kind of scum that murdered my father." That was news, no, they murdered his father. What the hell? So anyway, originally the show was going to be called The Man, The Man, The Man. Why, I don't know. But the producer, there's three different versions of how Hawaii Five-0 came to be. The producer of the show, he wanted to start a show centered around Hawaii because it was, like I said, it was relatively unknown back then, and really filmed the outside, used the touristy thing, people would really like it. And then there was another theory that this producer was friends with the governor of Hawaii, and they both cooked up this deal that they were going to start filming a show in Hawaii. Yeah, whatever. Originally, the role for Steve Garrett was offered to Richard Boone. You remember Richard Boone? He was on one of these old westerns, wasn't he? Was it Half Gun Will Travel or something like that? Something like that, right? And so Richard Boone was offered the role. He turned it down, which I don't think was a good move on Richard Boone's part. So, and actually another actor, they were really thinking of Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck to take that role. But so what happened was this: they were up against it, and they had Hawaii Five-0 all set to shoot the pilot, but they didn't have anybody to play the Garrett, like the most crucial role, right? So they saw Jack Lord, old films of Jack Lord. Jack Lord back in the day appeared on a lot of early TV shows, a lot of westerns too. Gunsmoke, The Virginian, he was all over the place. So they got a hold of Jack Lord, and they had him read for the part on a Wednesday. Now get this. They liked him. He flew to Hawaii, because that's where the show was being filmed, on a Friday. And on Monday, right after that weekend, Jack Lord was in front of the cameras. That quick, in 5 days, Jack Lord got the part of Steve Garrett and was filming right away. Some other trivia. The lead villain in Hawaii Five-0, they always had different villains, almost like Batman, like different villains in a week. Well, and then you would have these villains return. Most of them, again, were like gangster types. But there was a big villain. His name was Wo Fat. Fat, and he was on the show quite a few times as the lead villain. And how they named him Fat was it came from a restaurant in Honolulu. The restaurant was named Fat, and the producer said, "Hey, that sounds like a good name for the villain. Let's use it, Fat." When they started filming Hawaii Five-0, they used different studios. Again, they wanted it to be authentic. So and in order to save cost of filming it in Los Angeles, they decided to build a studio in Hawaii. So for season 1, they built a studio that the cast nicknamed the Mongoose Manor. And the reason is it was because it was very cheap. The rats were chewing. It's not funny, but the rats were chewing the cable wires. There were roaches inside of the studio. Really like a slum thing. Anyway, the first season was filmed there. The second season was filmed at another location on the islands. And the third season, actually, they built a very expensive studio out there in Diamond Head there. Very, very rarely out of 281 episodes, only 4 were filmed away from Hawaii. They filmed 2 episodes in LA, 1 episode in Hong Kong, and 1 episode in Singapore. And other than the catchphrase "Book 'em, Dano," the other really trademark, we should say, of Jack Lord, Steve Garrett was at the end. What they would do, this was kind of cool. Very similar to Batman again. At the end of each episode, they would give you a little preview of the following week. Like next on Hawaii Five-0, and they would show these what's going on, these little film clips about it, but just like less than a minute. And Jack Lord at the end would say, next on Hawaii Five-0, be there, aloha. And that was his ending every time. Be there, aloha. Maybe I'll start using that too, even though I'm not in Hawaii. It feels like Hawaii today, but be there, aloha. That's, whatever. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first part, when and it's the scene when you start Hawaii Five-0 of the dancing girls in that big wave, the guys surfing there, and then all that Hawaiian culture and tradition, scenery, with the iconic theme song over it. That was voted by TV Guide as the number 4. Because by Mike, what the hell? The number 4 all-time leading opening on television. Number 4. I don't know what the first 3 are. I'm not asking. But yeah, and then at the end, do you remember at the end they had these guys in the canoes or kayaks or whatever you call, paddling through the ocean. That was the end. And that's when Steve McGarrett would say his "Be there, aloha." Oh, what else do we have? Oh, this is interesting. I hope. Magnum PI. Magnum PI had a Hawaiian scene too. Why? Well, because really the reason was money, boss. When Hawaii Five-0 ended in 1980, James MacArthur left the series. He wanted to do some other stuff. And the show was kind of winding down. So they decided to pull the plug. But the studio was so expensive that they built, the last studio at Diamond Head for the last 4 seasons, that they didn't want to just trash it. They wanted to use it. So they decided, spur of the moment, okay, we got this new show coming up, Magnum PI, starring Tom Selleck, who was like this heartthrob guy back then. instead of setting it in LA, let's set it in Hawaii. Then we could use the studio, the scenery. See, Hawaii Five-0 was still pretty popular, even after 12 seasons. But the thing is, people started to leave. MacArthur left. Jack Lord wanted out. He wanted to do other stuff. So it's not that the show like died away. It was still popular, but so in lieu of that, they decided to put Tom Selleck in Hawaii, which turned out to be a great move because Magnum PI was very popular. Now, Magnum PI, I don't know if you remember this or not, Tom Selleck actually played on one or two episodes of Hawaii Five-0 at the end. Sort of the transition, so between the Garrett and Magnum, that smooth transition there. So that's how they did that. The theme song. The theme song went to number 4 on the Billboard charts. It was very popular. And it was played by the Ventures. Do you remember the Ventures? Walk, Don't Run. This guitar, like they used to call it the beach guitar, but I don't know, like beach music, not Beach Boys, but the like the Ventures and the all this guitar and ukulele. I don't know. Anyway, it was popular back in the 60s. So so it actually the song went to number 4 on the charts. You could play right up there with Let It Be with the Beatles. Then Hawaii Five-0. And a couple of things about Jack Lord, the man himself. Jack Lord lived to be 77. He died in 1989. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but Jack Lord was actually offered the part on Star Trek as James T. Kirk. The part that went to William Shatner. Jack Lord was offered the part, turned it down. Bad move, Jack Lord. Although, Hawaii Five-0 was very successful in its own. But can you imagine Jack Lord as commanding the Star Trek Spaceship Enterprise? So here's the thing. Jack Lord was very, on the set, he had a reputation of being very demanding because as the years went by, when the producer of the show died in the mid-70s, Jack Lord bought his share of the show. He had a big investment in Hawaii Five-0. He owned, along with CBS, Jack Lord owned like half of that show. Like all those syndication reruns and everything, he got paid for it, even when he was sitting in his rocking chair after, So he had a lot of investment in the show. So he was very demanding with the cast. Even with Wu Fat, all those guys. He was very demanding. He could, in other words, he could be a pain in the ass. But, he made everybody better. That's what they said. He was very demanding, but he wanted things to be right. That was Jack Lord. He was a perfectionist, very much so. So he retired, and he really laid low after Hawaii Five-0. He basically did some things in TV, but really, from 1980 until he died in 1998, 18 years, he sort of took it easy, which I don't do. But yeah, he lived in Hawaii, never left Hawaii. But people would see him along with his wife. He would go to the local shopping mall and say hi to people and stuff. In fact, one of the malls down there, I believe outside of Honolulu, has a statue. There's a bust or a statue of Jack Lord, right there to commemorate, whatever the word is, his greatness. Jack Lord. And he had this perfect hair. Remember Jack Lord with the hair all combed back and stuff? like with the little piece of hair in the front on the forehead, and all like greasy hair, and a lot of product in his hair, a lot of product, sort of like Elvis. Maybe that's why Elvis wanted to be a cop. Elvis wanted to be the Secret Service guy. That's what he told Richard. That's a whole other shit. Anyway, so um, so Jack Lord was this cool guy, and so he ended up, poor guy, he ended up with Alzheimer's, and he had Alzheimer's for a long, long time. In fact, they can't prove it, but they're thinking Jack Lord, the onset of Alzheimer's was beginning to show during the last season of Hawaii Five. I don't know how he knew that, but that was the thing. So, what can you say? But he made a fortune. His estate, $40 million when he died. I mean, that's a lot of money for even now for me, Jesus. But back then, we're talking what, 30 years ago or something, 40 years? That was even more money. So, but guess what? To show you what kind of guy Jack Lord was, when he died, he had it in his will. Well, his wife died after him. She died. This was his second wife. His second wife died in 2005, 7 years after Lord. So, but he had it in his will. If anything of his estate remains after his wife passes away, everything goes to Hawaiian charities. His favorite charities in Hawaii, they got all the money. So what a guy, huh? What a guy. And I could just imagine he and his wife on a date there, maybe, getting a little frisky. And I could hear her just say, "Oh, Lord." Well, Lord, that was his last name. Oh, Lord. Okay, well, that's the end of that. And so that's Hawaii Five-0. I hope you enjoyed it. I still like it. I don't watch it very much because, I guess it's still around. But it was a good show. It wasn't one of my favorites because I really wasn't into cop shows that much back in the day. But it was okay. I watched it. I watched it. Did I want to be like Jack Lord? No, not really. I didn't want to be like Jack Lord. But, it was a cool show. And that's about it. So listen, I'll be back maybe tomorrow, maybe Saturday. We'll talk again, huh? And we'll see what's up, right? So everybody have a great day. Peace and love to everybody out there. Take care of yourselves. And I got one more thing to say before I leave. Next time I'm on YouTube, this Five podcast. Be here. Aloha. Take care, everybody. Bye.